In this lab, we are going to learn how to deploy an ASP.NET Core Web application into AWS Lambda using Azure DevOps. Before we start building our pipeline, we first need to learn how our ASP.NET Core Web application is hosted on AWS Lambda. So let's say you have some users and they want to connect into your ASP.NET Core Web application that is hosted on AWS Lambda. They will invoke an Amazon API Gateway endpoint. You can use Amazon API Gateway as a trigger to start a Lambda function. So we do that wiring so that whenever there's a request on Amazon API Gateway, it will start our Lambda function. Lambda function will then start our ASP.NET Core Web application. So imagine AWS Lambda acting as something similar to IIS in Windows environments. The integration is very simple. You define in your code something called a Lambda endpoint, and then after that you pretty much initiate your startup class. It's similar to any other ASP.NET Core Web application. Once the ASP.NET Core Web application generates its output, so it can be a JSON output, it can be a result of a view executing or some kind of a control that you run that will return the result back to user as a return from Lambda function, and it will go back to the users. This is how we are going to create our pipeline. So we have our ASP.NET Core Web application, which we have coded using Visual Studio Code. We are going to commit into Azure repository that will kickstart our Azure pipeline. And in the build agent, we are going to build this application. This build agent has some tools already installed. So that includes a tool called Amazon Lambda Tools that allows us to deploy Lambda functions into AWS. So once these tools are installed, we get some extension commands on our .NET framework. So what you do is you create another Azure DevOps task, maybe a command line task, and then type in this command called .NET Lambda deploy serverless, and then punch in some parameters like a framework, the stack name, the S3 bucket that this will be deployed into. So once you execute this command, it's going to kickstart a CloudFormation. So remember, we are not directly starting the CloudFormation. The serverless framework or the Lambda tools take care of starting this CloudFormation template. This CloudFormation template is going to orchestrate few resources. That includes a Lambda function, of course, and it's also going to create an Amazon API Gateway. The Lambda function will have our ASP.NET Core Web application as its code base. And the CloudFormation is also going to create the wiring so that the API Gateway is linked with Lambda function. So let's now go for our labs and then try to build this pipeline.